As some of you probably guessed by now, I'm lazy. I'm a lazy person. I do not want to work hard. I do not want to work at all. I've been this way ever since I was a teenager. But this is a story how a lazy guy like me made a good living in real estate. Now, as I said in my previous videos about real estate sales, you got to know people. That was my problem. I had an engineering background when I got into real estate sales, and frankly, I didn't want to know anybody. I just wanted to make money. So I struggled, went out and knocked on doors and called people. I don't know if they do that anymore. But back then, we're talking about the 70s, that was very typical. Knocking on doors, passing out cards, sticking them in the door, or making phone calls, or both. Well, I did this for several years, and I made money. I made a living. But I said, this is too much work. Walking around, knocking on doors, stuffing cards in the door jamb, come back, make phone calls. It worked, but that was hard work. I wanted no work or close to it. So this is how I turned up the sales without working hard. I got myself, I bought a pack of postcards at the post office. They would sell you postcards. They're already pre-stamped. So I would go into what was called Bressers back then, and I'd get the addresses of in my neighborhood, and I would fill out on the front the address. I would write it out neatly and nicely. Then on the back of the card, I would write something about, do you want to sell your house? I wasn't looking for buyers, I was looking for sellers. And I had a little thing that was like 2 paragraphs long. It didn't fill the card up, but it was handwritten. Now, I could have went to a printer and had it printed. The whole card printed with nothing on it but this printing. I didn't want to do that. I said to myself, this card has to be personal. The people who receive this postcard has to see that I took the time to handwrite that card. They are less likely to throw that card away when they get it in the mail than one that's pre-printed, like everything else. So I hand wrote the card. I don't know, I did maybe around 50 cards a day. That was my labor. The stamps already came with the card. So all I had to do is write the same thing over and over again. And then the only thing that was different, I put their name at the top because I knew what it was from the Bresser's address book. That was it. I went out and mailed my 50 cards out and waited. Why? Because I was lazy. I did not want to walk around anymore. Knocking on doors. After a while, I started getting phone calls. Mr. Quartytypo, we got your card in the mail, and we're thinking about selling our house. Could you come over and give us an estimate? Oh, I can. So I'd go out there, and I didn't close every deal, but I closed enough deals to make a good living. So that's what happened. Because I'm naturally lazy, I had to think of a way to make a living without working too hard. And that was it. Sending out these postcards. When I was done, then I would go home and wait for the phone to ring. And it did ring. Well, this went on for years. Of course, I got knocked out of the box in 1980 when the first real estate crash happened. Probably the first one in American history. It was around 1980, and all sales more or less just ground to a halt for several years. But in the meantime, before that, I was making a good living in real estate, just writing my postcards, dropping them in the mailbox, and going home waiting for a call.